Extensive use of technology, social media, violent games are said to factor in the growing violence among minors. However, there are overlooked factors, or should I say, undermined. Children who are troubled and conflicted are the fruits of an equally troubled society. It's not only having unaware parents, it's also about living in an unaware, burdened community and society. Let me explain. First of all, I am not defending the two minors from Tacloban who committed a crime last June 22 that resulted in the deaths of three people and injuries to about 20 others, including students. What I'm defending, however, is the principle that children are still children and should remain so. Their innocence and limited capacity for judgment should not be overshadowed by the perception that they are as capable as adults of committing and fully understanding heinous crimes. Is it really those violent video games or time spent on social media that have exposed our children to violence? Well, I took a glimpse of games like Roblox and Gorebox, and they're kind of gory, so they're not really for kids, obviously. However, focusing solely on video games is kind of lame. I read that the Senate committee holding the hearings on the violent incident has invited the game developers to explain the safeguards they have put in place. I'm not quite sure how that would be relevant or whether the developers will even participate. Why not simply ban these games to make a strong statement that here in the country, we are serious about curbing violence? Besides, if even the shared responsibility approach, in which parents and schools are expected to play a role, is already proving ineffective, we might as well block these games. After all, what are we going to lose if we no longer have access to them? When we were young, we used to play baril-barilan, yet we never thought about shooting real people. In fact, I'm uneasy around real guns and firearms. Um, I think that is because the environment for children was healthier back then. What I mean to say is that back then we had green spaces. We had places to play, safe places to play, imagine, and engage in make believe. The line between reality and fantasy was much clearer. Unlike today, both adults and children now live their material everyday lives increasingly intertwined with the virtual one. Then, uh, then we had proper places to play. We also had spaces where we could make friends with people who shared our interests. Interactions were real, not simulated. There were there was trust. Okay, there was trust, and we obey our parents. We obey our the elders. Children were more accustomed to solving problems creatively and finding ways to occupy themselves creatively also. Now, where are the green spaces? Many have been replaced by malls and condominiums. Even churches, places where people once connected with one another and nurtured their spirituality, have in many cases been moved into the malls, inside the malls. Indeed, consumerism is wreaking havoc on us, yet it continues to be justified in the name of economic progress. But at whose expense? Is overconsumption really making our lives better? No, in fact, it has come to the point where our primary outlet for expression is through social networking platforms. I have also noticed that media censorship appears to be either too lax or inconsistent in its standards for reviewing what is shown on television and in films. There's also too much emphasis on freedom of expression. These freedoms have limits too. That said, the situation today is that our values and patterns of consumption seem to be producing a generation of children and young adults who no longer think seriously about accountability or at least the full extent of it. The Tacloban shooters, for instance, appear not to have thought beyond the age of criminal liability. They may have simply understood that those aged 15 and above can be jailed, while those below 15 generally cannot. So, hanggang dun lang ang comprehension nila, and it's both frightening and sad. Our children also take cues from us adults, many of whom seem to have little regard for accountability beyond the immediate moment. We often fail to ask, what happens if, and to consider the consequences of our actions before making decisions. Now, the know-it-all adults are hammering away at video games and social media. I think it's a myopic approach. Well, they may have, a point, but they have barely commented on violent television shows such as ang Provinciano, and I don't know yung the latest. So, is the violence depicted in this show somehow legitimized simply because it is viewed in the family living room or on shared mobile devices? Mind you, this goes beyond claims about misanthropic or nihilistic ideas allegedly being propagated by a cult linked to certain players of these violent video games. Okay. By the way, are we really trying to philosophize the situation involving minors and violence now? Nihilistic, violent extremism, what? How are ordinary Filipinos even supposed to understand that? I can't even pronounce it. Misanthropy is the dislike of or distrust in humanity, human behavior, or human nature. Nihilism, in simple terms, is the belief that values and beliefs are baseless and that life has no inherent meaning or value. These ideas are so unlike children. Children are full of life, with vivid and colorful imaginations. Sa kanila nga nanggaling yung innocence, right? The ability to see the world with wonder and without constant judgment. Misanthropy and nihilism are concepts more commonly associated with people who have become disillusioned with life and society, jaded people, sick people. Next time, let's take a closer look at this 764 or cult, which was mentioned during the Senate hearing and is allegedly linked to Satanism. But for now, I'd like to say that, well, there's also the normalization of words like patayin or mamatay. Isn't it quite common these days? I was surprised to see a veteran journalist and university professor write on her social media wall that her birthday wish was for those involved in the flood control scandal to die. Many people perhaps unwittingly picked it up as something funny or on point. As a result, statements like "mamatay na sana si" have become increasingly common in everyday conversations and online discussions. It's like uh, the way we value life has diminished whenever we utter "mamatay na sana si" or we wish for someone to die, a cruel death element. As for video games, groomers will likely find their way into almost any platform that has a social networking element. Wherever there are spaces for people to interact online, there will always be individuals looking to exploit them. But how do we stop developers from creating these games? Can we even do that? Perhaps the government could simply ban the apps in the country, or perhaps it could criminalize their distribution, including their promotion and advertising, much like what we do with isabong and online gambling sites. Although unfortunately, online gambling platforms are still being advertised online. I don't know what happened to that, to that is it a suggestion to regulate the online games, gambling sites? Well, targeting children and expecting them to understand the world the same way adults do is, in a way, taking away their childhood as well. Siguro let's start by educating or at least helping adults become more responsible too. But militarizing our environment just to enforce rules so that we can operate within lawful parameters can be detrimental as well. Can it not? Biruin mo, we end up living in fear and dread. We become paranoid. How can you function normally, think clearly, and make sound judgment calls if we are constantly compelled to act out of fear and simply follow rules imposed by authorities or law enforcement just so we can be safe, or avoid being labeled as violators? One legislator mentioned deploying more security guards and metal detectors in schools. Why not start by teaching self-empowerment instead? Why not encourage and recognize the unique potential of every child rather than placing so much emphasis on getting straight A's and rewarding only those who excel academically with support and recognition from teachers? Bakit ba hindi rin mabigyan ng encouragement at boost ang mga estudyanteng hindi academically outstanding? Why not also strengthen efforts to educate students about bullying and different forms of abuse, physical, emotional, social, psychological, and sexual? Whether the perpetrators are at school or at home, students should know that they have the right to speak up and seek protection from school authorities. Why is the default response always to involve law enforcement? Do we really think that the mere presence of law enforcers can deter violence? If so, where's the evidence? Show us the statistics. If some sectors are fighting tooth and nail to include sex education, family planning, and the SOGI related topics in the curriculum, is it not equally, if not more pressing, to teach children self-confidence, empathy, and how to deal with bullying, whether it's victims, bystanders, or even as those who engage in it? I kind of agree with another legislator who said that this is not merely a peace and order issue, but also a youth welfare issue, a public mental health issue, and a challenge to the education system. Kaya lang this legislator, at the end of his speech, parang he's praising the e-games, the legitimization of e-games. So I don't know. And yes, sana mabigyan ng mas malaking focus ang mental health among young people as well as adults. We need greater awareness of the extent of mental health challenges. Too often, a person's mental health struggles are still demonized, used to ridicule them, or even turned into a case against them instead of being understood and addressed appropriately. Kaya lang, regarding his suggestion, this legislator, his suggestion is to increase the number of licensed counselors in schools. Parang mm, may more immediate solutions naman without having to pass another law or allocate additional funding for results that are still uncertain. That's my opinion. Pwede namang palawakin ang training ng mga social workers so they can better address mental health concerns among young people and adults. They can work with barangays to develop community-based programs and awareness campaigns. I have actually wanted to pursue this kind of health awareness program myself, but I still lack the logistics and resources to make it happen. So maybe when our channel grows, we will have the funding to support projects like this. Sa totoo lang, ang daming stressor sa mga kabataan ngayon. Isama mo pang identity issues at ang tanong kung saan ba sila lulugar sa lipunang ito. Minsan kasi parang iilan lang ang nabibigyan ng opportunity na tuklasin at paunlarin ng kanilang kakayahan. Yung mga mukhang artistahin, yung mga award hoarders, yung mga may kaya sa buhay, yung mga sektor na laging naambunan ng government assistance because it makes agencies look good. O kaya yung mga hindi nangangatwiran kapag pinapagalitan o ipinapahiya. So kapag ganito ang nakikita ng mga kabataan, madaling maramdaman na hindi pantay ang pagkakataon para sa lahat at na may mga taong mas may access sa suporta, pagkilala at oportunidad kaysa sa iba. With the Senate hearing, let's say we succeed in eliminating all these violent video games. Now what? Or let's say we manage to increase the number of guidance counselors in schools. The latest I heard is that about 2 billion pesos has been allocated to hire 10,000 more school counselors to address mental health and behavioral issues among students and minors. And then what? For as long as parents remain burdened economically, mentally, psychologically, and physically, we cannot expect them to consistently demonstrate the kind of ideal parenting we hope for. Children, in turn, absorb many of those same burdens. So, for as long as decent and affordable housing remains out of reach, forcing families to live in cramped homes and chaotic neighborhoods, many children will struggle to fully develop and realize their potential. Instead, they may learn to shrink themselves, conform, and simply adapt in order to survive. For as long as we lack ample, green, free, and accessible spaces for recreation and relaxation, both children and adults will continue to rely heavily on online platforms as their primary source of entertainment and escape. For as long as children's voices are stifled, whether at school or at home, and they are constantly told to stay within rigid boundaries, something in their childhood slowly fades. What may emerge instead are young people who feel deprived, alienated, or angry with few healthy ways to express themselves. For as long as children are subjected to verbal, emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, and communities are not equipped or willing to respond, choosing instead to look away because they do not want to get involved, there can be no real justice for children. They will continue to feel that they do not matter and that they are powerless. For as long as our education system remains unequal, confusing, or overly restrictive, and access to quality education remains unstable, we risk raising generations of children who are less equipped to think critically and independently. For as long as we as a society are not spiritually nourished, we will remain spiritually fragile and unfit to guide our children. This problem is so deep and far reaching. It is not only about social media or violent video games. Parang we are only scratching the surface. When there is illness, diba, do we not try to treat the cause rather than merely the symptoms? What happened in Tacloban may be a symptom of something more profound. People often say that it takes a village to raise a child, but in reality, it takes an entire society with a healthy culture, strong communities, a sense of shared values and purpose, and a strong faith in God to raise a child well. Thank you again. This is Tree Brave, and I'll see you in our next episode. Stay grounded and stay brave.